Hello, happy Wednesday. Happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to Boot Camp. Coach Jazzi here, and I have our Valentine's themed workout today. So we're spelling out Be Mine. We're gonna do 3 rounds. 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest slash transition time. I have the red lights on here for Valentine's Day as well. So I'm trying to get in the theme here of love, self-love. If you didn't, go check out my Slack post earlier on tips for self-love today. But I'm going to go ahead real quick with our demos, and then we'll get into the warm-up and into the circuit. So first thing we're going to start off with today, we are going to do a bear crawl hold. So we're going to be on the ground. Fix my camera real quick. We're going to be on our hands and our knees, and then you're going to tuck your toes. So hands underneath our shoulders. We're going to keep our core tight. We're tucking our toes and exhale, gently lifting our knees off of the ground. So our knees are about an inch off of the ground. So we're holding there. We're going to feel that in our quads and in our core and in our shoulders. So that's gonna be the first movement. And then we're going to do some eccentric push-ups. So you can either do hands and knees or hands and toes, lowering yourself down, 1, 2, and 3, and then get up however you need to. So that's going to be the E. And then we're going to stand up. We're going to do a lateral march. So this one, no, I feel like I need to move my camera again. Okay, we got it. All right, so lateral march. If you have this space, we're going to move side to side. So we're going to have opposite arm, opposite leg coming up. We're going to step over and out and then up and then out and then up and then the other way. So this one takes a little bit of coordination, but you can do a practice one if you need to. I always need to kind of like think about it. But you can always do it like one and then the other way if you only have a little bit of space, or you can do an in-place march depending on your space as well. So that's our M. And then for the I, we're going to do an inchworm with a push-up. So lots of push-ups today. So inchworm here, hips are back, core is tight, back is flat, walking our hands out into our push-up. And then from here, you can either walk your feet or your hands, whatever feels good for you today. I think I'm going to do my feet. So that's the I. And then last 2 movements are going to be squats. So for the N, we're going to do narrow squats. So feet are not fully touching, but they're closer than hip width. So we're going to feel that more in our quads, but everything else is the same. This would be a regular squat coming down, pushing through our whole foot. Again, since we are more narrow, we are going to feel that more in the quads. And then last but not least, we're going to do a 3-second eccentric squat. So that's our second eccentric movement today because we got 2 E's. Feet hip width apart, knees coming over our toes. 1, 2, 3. Push the ground away, standing back up. So that is our circuit today, our Valentine circuit. So let's go ahead and warm up real quick. We're going to do the world's greatest stretch. Shocking, I know. So we're coming to the top of our space. We're going to interlace our fingers, grab onto one of our knees, pulling towards our chest. And we're going to exhale, step back, reverse lunge. Hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg staying nice and straight. Nice big deep inhale. And we're going to exhale, opening up towards the ceiling. Looking past our hand, thumb is facing behind us. And we're going to exhale, plant outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And let's go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together. Push the ground away and stand on up. Perfect. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to interlace our fingers, grabbing onto our other knee, pulling towards our chest. And we're going to exhale, step back, reverse lunge. Hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. And we're going to inhale. And exhale, opening up towards the ceiling. Looking past our hand, thumb is facing behind us. And we're going to exhale, planting outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer, pushing our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And let's go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together. Push the ground away and stand on up. All right. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of some plank to pike here so we can really open up our arms. So we got lots of push-ups coming up. So onto the ground, hands and toes. And when we're ready, keeping our core tight, we're gonna go ahead, exhale. Push our hips up into our down dog. We're gonna pedal our heels a little bit so you can kind of go at your own pace. Hold as long or as little as you need to. I recommend doing kind of just one breath each heel and then switching. And then let's go ahead and push both our heels into the ground, poke our head in between our arms, and come back to our plank. Let's do 3 planks of pikes here coming up and down. 2 more, up and down, and last one coming up. And then we can go ahead, make our way back to our plank and then onto our hands and knees because we are starting on the ground with bear crawl hold. So we're going to do 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest / transition time, starting on the ground. So we're doing bear crawl holds. Get the timer ready here. Let me get it started in 3, 2, 1, and go. So on our hands and knees, we're going to tuck our toes and gently push our knees off the ground. So our checklist here, screwing our hands into the ground. We want to make sure our belly button is pulled into our spine. We don't want to be arching here. We don't want to be rounded. We want to find our neutral. And then we squeeze through our armpits so our back is nice and flat. And then again, gently elevating our knees. So this one, I definitely have not done this in a long time. So I know my hold is not going to be as long. But so if you need to take a break, count to 3, reset right back in. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. Those are always tough. I feel that more in my quads. Okay. Eccentric push-ups. 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to try a couple for my hands and toes, but again, same checklist though. So the same as the bear crawl, everything starts off the same. And then you can either stay on your knees or your toes. We're going to lower ourselves. 1, 2, 3. And if you are at that point where we've been doing this for a while and you're ready, lower yourself, don't touch the ground, come right back up. So that's a challenge today. If you're already like, yes, I got this, we're doing full ones then. If you're in that intermediate point, go ahead, keep up. You can, well, actually, if you are at that point, but you can't fully come back up, go ahead, do it from your knees where you lower nice and slow, and then still push back up. So that'll help build that strength. Oh, time. That's time. That was exactly 50. My apologies. I got too into the talking. All right. I think I had too much coffee. We have lateral marches. 3, 2, 1. A little too chatty. My apologies. I'll give us a count on this time. So we're doing lateral marches on this one. Really key. So our core is engaged, right? Pelvis is tucked. Opposite arm, opposite leg. But then we're stepping out, but everything else is the same. So if you notice, it looks like I'm going in place, but now we're pushing off. So when I go to the left, I push off my right leg, right? So we're pushing off the inside of the right leg, going to the left, and vice versa. So it's going to help us strengthen our change of direction, as well as work on our core strength. 3, 2, 1. And our hip flexors. All right. Next up, inchworm 2 push-up. 3, 2, 1. All right. So feet hip width apart, pushing our hips back, making sure we're not hunched over. Everything stays nice and flat, walking out to our plank. Making sure our back is nice and flat, elbows stay tight with our push-up. And then you can either walk your feet or your hands. So today, I'm not going to tell you which one to do. I know sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today's not one of those days. Do whichever one feels good. Great job. Finishing strong. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last two movements are squats. So we have narrow squats. Our first. 3, 2, 1. So feet are closer than hip width. So our regular squat, we're here. Maybe we're here. Narrow squat, feet are not touching, but they're close. Knees still come forward. My knees are still coming out. So even though my feet are closer, you notice the inside part of my knee is still over my second toe, just as if I was doing a regular squat. So like I said, everything stays the same except for where our feet are. So they're closer. We're still coming back. Like I said, knees come forward, hips come back, chest stays up, pushing through our whole foot. So we are still going to feel it in our glutes a little bit, but there's going to be a lot more load on our quads today. Doing a little extra quad work today. I did not notice that until right now. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. Last but not least, eccentric squats. So 3 seconds down. 3, 2, 1. So feet hip width apart. If you need to, you can point your toes out ever so slightly. And then coming down 1, 2, 3. Again, everything's the same. Right back up. So if you notice what we were just doing with the narrow squats and now the eccentric squats, my knees are still doing the same thing. Chest is staying up. Hips are back. Knees are forward. Everything is the same. We're just going back to our regular foot placement. Great job. Really pushing through our whole foot. Keeping that core tight. 3, 2, 1. All right. Great job. 1 down, 2 to go. Bear crawl holds are next. 3, 2, 1. We have our checklist. Core is engaged before we even tuck our toes. So this and this should feel pretty much the same. Obviously, when we're on our toes, we're going to have more load, but we want to share the load between our upper and lower body if we can. Looking out in front, I don't know if y'all just noticed that, but I started to do the thing where I overtuck my chin. So keeping the tennis ball under our chin. As it's there, we're looking forward. We're not looking at our hands. Great job. Keep pushing. We're almost there. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. Those will never get easy. We're staying on the ground. We're not standing up. Eccentric push-ups. 3, 2, 1. So remembering today. So if we are at the point where we want to push back up, we can either be on our knees or on our toes, regardless of whichever one we're doing. But if you are at this point, we should all be a lot stronger in our push-ups, me included. I'm trying to work on them, but I keep honestly forgetting. So I'm not getting that much better. But if you feel that point where you really want to increase to the next level, go ahead, go on your knees, lower yourself, and push back up. Really important when we are pushing back up that our hands are here. 3, 2, 1. I'll finish that thought in the third round. All right, lateral marches. You can also do in-place marches if you don't have the space. 3, 2, 1. You can do 1 and then back the other way if that's all the space you have, or you can do it in place. So there's options. You can also, this one, I do want to stick to that lateral one though. I know we could do a forward one, But I really do think that this motion of pushing off of our foot on the inside and stepping out is really going to be good for our hips and also for our change of direction strength, which I know it's not something that we think we're going to use all the time, but I think we use it more than we think we do. Like if we're going to step off the curb, if we're walking, if we're on a run, or if we're like going through a crowd or something, you just never know when you're going to need to like change a direction. And we want to make sure our knees are strong for that. 3, 2, 1. All right. Inchworm with a push-up. 3, 2, 1. All right. Coming down. And with this push-up, you can do hands and knees or hands and toes. If you would like, you can also do an eccentric push-up on this one. So if you want to keep working on it, keep working on it. If you want to make it more challenging for yourself, whatever feels good for you today, what I would like you to do. And almost slid out from under me. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last 2 movements, we have narrow squats and eccentric squats, and then we have last round. 3, 2, 1. Getting our feet narrow. Pushing through our whole foot. If you want to move slower through this, if you want to make this an eccentric narrow squat, I'm not going to be upset about it either. So do whatever feels good. I know sometimes coming a little slower can be helpful. Really key here that as we come down, it's really easy since our body, we don't normally squat down like this, right? We really want our knees to come out so our chest can stay up. So I find sometimes when we're here, we tend to keep our glutes too high. So we really want our knees to fall out on our second toe. 3, 2, 1. All right, we have eccentric squats next. 3, 2, 1. All right, so same thing, but this is where this form and our regular stance squat can really help with the narrow squats. Because like I said, if we're squatting, even if we're squatting regularly and our hips are here and our chest is here, we really want to let our knees come out. We don't want to push our knees out. We want our legs to be like flexible here. But as we squat down, our knees are coming open. Otherwise, it's really hard to get into that position. It's like on this one, right? My knees aren't coming out. And when that happens, we're going to look more like this. But when our knees come out, that's where our hips can go down a little further. So I know a lot of that is mobility based, but it's also where our legs and body, how they all move together. 3, 2, 1. All right. Great job. Last round coming up. Bear crawl holds. 3, 2, 1. I almost made these ones shoulder taps just so we can, I don't know, sometimes I feel like holding things is a little bit more difficult. And moving through something can be, I don't want to say easier, but sometimes it takes our mind off of the fact that we're holding something for a long time. I don't know if that's just me, but want the holds today. Tomorrow, I already have it planned out. We're not doing a Valentine's Day theme or a heart theme. We're going to do a little bit more cardio based in terms of how fast we're moving. So I'm going to switch it up to a different kind of workout tomorrow. I'm trying to keep things a little bit cardio focused this month for heart health. 3, 2, 1. All right, we are done with those. We have eccentric push-ups next. 3, 2, 1. All right. Lower and push. So what I was saying last time, we want to make sure our hands, right, they're starting out under our shoulders. They're coming down to the bottom of our ribs, and then we're pushing back up. That not only is going to activate our chest with that motion, like we're pushing a door open, but it's also going to keep our back really flat. If our hands are up here, we're going to get that shrug of our shoulders, and our shoulder blades are going to come up and pinch together. I know I'm guilty of that, so that's where I'm trying to also focus on that when I'm getting better at my push-ups. If we're here, we're coming down and back up. So keeping our back nice and flat, which also includes our upper back. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right, done with those. We only have a little bit more push-ups to go. Lateral marches are next. 3, 2, 1. But what I was saying is my goal for us this month, I know sometimes it's not always like that because I know we work out. I know all of us do a lot of different types of workouts. So I want to make sure that we're getting a variety of things in terms of like strength, cardio, higher intensity, lower intensity, all of that. So I do try and keep things rotating between all of those, especially between the types of classes. But I do want to have more of a cardio focus in February since it is Heart Health Month. And we all know that cardio and strength training are good for our bodies, but also our hearts. Our heart is a muscle. We want to train it accordingly. So I do want to kind of make that the theme for February for classes for me. 3, 2, 1. All right, inchworm to push up is next, and then we're in our last half. So we got 3 more movements, including this. 3, 2, 1. All right. But yeah, so what I was saying though is that I do really want to incorporate that theme, make sure we're getting strength as well as cardio in the classes. So if you see more burpees coming up, that's why. I know we don't all love them, but they are good for all of the muscles in our body, including our hearts. So just want to include y'all on my themes and processes here because these classes are meant to help you all hit your goals. So if you have anything specific you want to work on, you can always let me know if things change. 3, 2, 1. All right. Last 2 movements, narrow squats, eccentric squats. 3, 2, 1. I'm trying to use, that's why I like to have themes like this where we're spelling out things, but I like to try and keep things creative and fresh. So if there's any goals you have or anything, any ideas you have, I know in the in-person classes, I always get reminded of the equipment we have in here. For some reason I tend to forget. But if there's anything you want to focus on, just let me know so I can incorporate that in here. Okay, we're doing awesome. Like I said, we got 1 more movement after this, and then we are gonna cool down. 3, 2, 1. All right, last movement, eccentric squats, and then we're gonna cool down on the ground. 3, 2, 1. But since today's Valentine's Day, we'll end with a little bit of a self-care tip, self-love tip, because it's really important to make sure we are filling up our own cup before we fill up everyone else's around us. So I posted a couple on Slack, but my favorite one out of all those was get outside, because sometimes I know it's raining today, but if you can get outside this week for a walk, getting some sunlight, some fresh air, some breeze, and there's just something about watching the world pass by you as you walk by that is a down-regulating activity. It can help our nervous system, and it can help us just kind of down-regulate after the workday. So that is my self-care tip today. 3, 2, 1, and that is going to be it for today's circuit. So go ahead and grab a sip of water if you need it. And let's go ahead and make our way to the ground. We're going to do some child's pose to cool down today. So with that on the ground, when you're ready, we're going to be on our hands and knees. And we're going to take our knees a little bit wider than hip width. So a distance that feels good, that'll give us a nice stretch, but also not so much that it feels uncomfortable that we want it to end. But taking our knees a little bit wider, sink our hips back, walk our hands out, forehead, chin or cheek to the ground. And speaking of down regulation, we're gonna do our breathing. I really want us to make our exhales longer than our inhales. That's gonna help us down regulate our nervous system, get us out of fight or flight and into our rest or and digest, so we can really just calm down after that. Get ready for the rest of the day. So I'm gonna be quiet and we're gonna breathe. Really letting our hips sink further to the ground as we exhale. That's what I want our goal. We're breathing into our belly, into our nose, into our bellies. Exhaling, letting our arms and our armpits sink further to the ground, our hips. It's really taking this time to relax our muscles as we relax our bodies and our minds. Let's go ahead and do one more breath. And as we finish our last exhale, when we're ready, we can gently come out of that by putting more weight into our hands and then coming back onto our hands and our knees. And feel free to stay on the ground as I crawl back. You can return to a seated, kneeling, or standing position, but that is going to be it for us today. So thank you for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday. Happy Valentine's Day. And hopefully I'll see you all again tomorrow for Exercise with Excellence.